Joe, it is so cool to meet you. Congratulations on this, I'm going to say beautifully heartbreaking film.
I'll take that. I think that's absolutely accurate.
Yeah. When Ryan Murphy first approached you to bring the boys in the band back to Broadway, your initial question was why? So my question to you is why? Why?
Mm. It's interesting. I was reticent at the beginning when he raised the idea of reviving the play. And I think that that had to do with my experience with the play over the years. And I've seen it a couple times, and I certainly saw the movie, the original film, which I think holds up brilliantly and I love. But I don't know. I think it was, there was a kind of a stigma attached to the play, and I bought into that. And it was only after beginning to work on it with this particular group of actors that I thought, oh, it's so much richer than I was able to see initially. And I mean, obviously, at this point, I'm thrilled to have had this experience and to have have gone on a journey with it to discover it. But it really was a failure of imagination on my part.
You mentioned the actors there. I can't name them all because that will take up the whole interview. But what a cast. How did you go about assembling all of them?
Well, some of them were, Ryan and I have a lot of friends in the cast and people that we've worked with numerous times. What's also interesting is that once the cast was finally assembled, each of them had a connection to one or two people in the cast. So, occasionally what happens when you start a project is it's a group of strangers. But right from the beginning, there was this sense of camaraderie because there was no one in the room that didn't know at least one or two other people. So Jim and Matt and I did Ryan's The Normal Heart. I think Jim and Brian Hutchison went to school together, as their characters do in the film. And on and on and on.
So you do, I think it was about 80 shows on Broadway. You win a Tony, and then who goes, "That's not enough. Let's now turn this into a film."
Well, I mean, it as all good things originate with Ryan, and it really was his vision from the very beginning when we embarked on just taking this on, that it would culminate with a film. So I think he had it in the back of his head, or not even the back of his head, that was his vision for how this would play out.
And then how do you feel, because you're heavily involved in directing the stage show, how different
Mhm.
is it going from stage to screen?
Well, it's very different, but fortunately, in this particular experience, which was absolutely, I think, very unique, in that it was like we had 3 months of rehearsal in front of an audience to do a film, and so when those actors and when we all showed up, uh, to start to figure out a way to translate it, we had a sense of the dynamic of the play, the emotional landscape of it, the rhythm, all of those things that you kind of can just discover if you're working on it for the first time. But I think we brought all of that with us. And I think it was Matt Bomer who said that he never wanted to do another film where he didn't have a full Broadway run of beforehand. And I knew exactly what he meant because, we more than hit the ground running, and so um, there was a lot of freedom to explore the scenes because they always knew on some level what they needed to achieve to deliver a particular scene.
I asked you this before the camera started rolling, but I found this, I was entertained. And then at the same time, by the end, I was actually sobbing. And it's not something that's happened personally to me. But then these are not all of the issues, but some of the issues that some of the characters face are issues that you've probably faced yourself. How do you deal with that every single day? How are you not heartbroken at the end of a day's work?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that one could interpret the end of the film, and it was important to me and to I think all of us that we didn't slam the door at the end of that party and say, that's it. It's a hopeless wallow. This is a permanent state. The coda at the end, where you see them all again, allows a kind of, you see a kind of forgiveness and a kind of grace and a kind of taking care of one another. And, I mean, interestingly enough, when this film was, and this play was originally staged, the Stonewall Rebellion was, about a year and a half away. And so for me, when I look at this group of characters on this particular night, I'm looking at them with a historical perspective, knowing of what's right around the corner. And what's right around the corner is something that will unleash a kind of an evolution where things get better. And I think that's the perspective that happens now with this particular film that perhaps didn't happen with the original, and certainly not that, And so um, I find something hopeful about their spirit as a group, while absolutely acknowledging and not downplaying the kind of the real acidic bitterness, bitchiness that goes on in that room. I mean, I don't think that we've tried to downplay that at all, but I think we've tried to show the other things that were coexisting with it.
When you're involved in a project like this, it has to have
Mm.
some sort of personal impact in your life. When you walk away from this, what impact do you think, when you look back on this, what do you think it will have on your life, the impact?
The impact that this will have,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't. I suppose I should think that way, but I really don't. I choose projects because they touch my heart, because I'm interested, and because I like the people who are going to be in the room. And so it's pretty instinctual. And then I think at the end of my life, if someone wants to look back on the totality of what I've done and make sense of it, parse it out, then that's great. But I tend not to do that. I tend to just operate more instinctually.
Mm. Can we look forward? Because, I've loved the year you've had. You've had the boys in the band, Hollywood, one of my favorite series this year. Tell me that you and Ryan have got something planned for the next couple of years that we can look forward
Well,
to.
I mean, really, let's both make a case for that right now, because
If
nothing would make me happier. Um, uh, who knows? I mean, the thing about Ryan that I love about Ryan is that it's always a surprise. Hollywood was a surprise. Boys in the Band was a surprise. Uh, I was in his film of The Normal Heart. That was a surprise. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that he has more surprises in store.
I am doing the same for you. Here's to the next surprise, but in the meantime, thank you for this surprise.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.